There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone, but from feeling unseen. It's the loneliness of a man who walks through a town full of people, yet no one meets his eyes, who hears voices all day but none that speak to him, who carries a lifetime of love and loss inside his chest but has no one safe enough to name it to. This is the loneliness that lives in Tinker Jones. He wasn't always this way. Once, his hands didn't just mend pots. They shaped beauty, lanterns with filigree edges, whistles that sang like meadowlarks, tin cups polished to a shine, each one a small act of care for the families who used them. And his voice, oh, his voice was a gift. He sang old Irish ballads while he worked, his rich baritone rising above the clang of hammer on metal, filling the air with stories of home, of love, of longing. But then the fever came. It swept through Walnut Grove like a thief in the night, taking the young and the strong without warning. And in one cruel week, it took everything from Tinker, his wife Eleanor, with her laugh like wind chimes, and their little boy Thomas, who loved to sit at his father's feet and watch the sparks fly. After that, the song stopped, not because he forgot the words, but because grief had wrapped itself around his throat like a chain, and every note felt like a betrayal. How could he sing when the world had gone silent for him? So he withdrew. He moved to the edge of town, to a shack with a sagging roof and windows clouded with dust. He stopped coming to church, stopped trading his wares, stopped speaking altogether. The townspeople didn't know what to do. Some left food at his gate, then hurried away. Others crossed the street when they saw him coming. Harriet Olson declared he was bad luck and forbade Nellie from even looking in his direction. Children whispered that he was haunted, by ghosts, by guilt, by something they couldn't name but deeply feared. And maybe, in a way, he was haunted. Not by spirits, but by memory, by the echo of a child's laugh in an empty room, by the ghost of a hand that used to reach for his in the dark. But one person didn't look away. Laura Ingalls. She sees him first on a gray afternoon, bent over a broken bucket by the creek, his fingers moving with the old skill, even if his eyes are hollow. He doesn't notice her watching, but she notices everything. The way his thumb strokes the rim of the bucket like it's something precious, the way he pauses to watch a sparrow build its nest, the way his lips move slightly, as if rehearsing words he'll never say. That night, at supper she asks, "Why doesn't Mr. Jones talk anymore?" Charles glances at Caroline. "Some wounds don't bleed, Laura. They just close up inside, but he's still here," Laura insists. "Shouldn't someone tell him it's all right to be here?" Caroline reaches across the table and squeezes her daughter's hand. Sometimes the kindest thing isn't to speak, but to show up. And so, Laura begins. Not with grand gestures, not with demands, but with small acts of quiet faith. She leaves a loaf of Ma's rye bread on his fence post, wrapped in a clean cloth. She places a pair of wool socks, knitted by Mary, on his doorstep. She tucks a sprig of late-blooming goldenrod into the crack of his door. She never waits for thanks. She never knocks. She just leaves and walks away. For days, nothing changes. The gifts sit untouched. The town shakes its head. "Waste of time," they mutter. But Laura keeps coming. Then, one morning, the bread is gone. In its place, a small object resting on the wood, a tin whistle, polished to a soft gleam, shaped like a bird in flight. No note, no name, just the whistle, a voice where there had been silence. Laura takes it home. That night, by lamplight, she blows a single clear note. It rings through the cabin like a bell. Charles looks up from his ledger. Caroline stops her mending. Even Mary pauses in her reading. "It's beautiful," Mary whispers. "It's him," Charles says softly. He's talking. Encouraged, Laura returns the next day with her school slate. In careful letters, she writes, "Thank you for the whistle. It sings like a bird." She leaves it by his door and runs home, heart pounding. The next morning, she finds a new message, not on slate, but carved into a smooth piece of cherry wood. "Play it again." And so begins a conversation unlike any other. Laura leaves drawings, a robin on a branch, the Ingalls' cabin in snow, a dog with floppy ears. Tinker leaves treasures, a tin horse with real leather reins, a tiny lantern that holds a candle, a music box that plays a fragment of an old lullaby. She writes, "What was your son's name?" He carves, Thomas. He loved the creek. She draws, a woman with long hair holding a child. He leaves, a locket, empty but polished until it shines. No one sees these exchanges, but the town begins to notice something else. Tinker's door is open more often. Smoke rises from his chimney. And sometimes, just after dusk, the faint sound of a fiddle drifts through the trees. Not a song of sorrow, but one of memory, tender and true. Then comes the blizzard. It rolls in fast, a wall of white that swallows the prairie whole. Winds howl like wolves, temperatures plummet, and word comes that the Peterson family 10 miles out is trapped, their stovepipe cracked, their fire dying, their children shivering under thin quilts. Charles organizes a rescue party, but they need more than blankets and food. They need a tinsmith, someone who can patch the pipe before the cold claims them all. Everyone knows who that is. But when Charles approaches Tinker's shack, he hesitates. How do you ask a man who's spent years hiding to step into a storm for strangers? Before he can knock, the door opens. Tinker stands there, coat buttoned, tool bag in hand. His eyes are tired but clear. "I'll go," he says. His voice is rough, unused, but it's there. The journey is brutal. Snow blinds them. Wind steals their breath. But Tinker rides steady, his hands gripping the reins like they've never left a hammer. At the Peterson cabin, he works by lamplight, fingers numb but sure. He cuts new tin, seals the joints, tests the draft. The fire roars back to life. The children stop shivering. As they prepare to leave, Mrs. Peterson takes his hand. "Thank you," she whispers. "You saved us." Tinker looks at her, really looks, and for the first time in years he speaks not in carvings but in words. "My wife." She would have done the same. The ride back is quieter, but something has shifted, not just in Tinker, but in the town. When he returns, people don't cross the street. They nod. They say, "Good morning." The blacksmith asks him to fix a broken hinge. The schoolteacher brings him books for when you're ready to read again. And Laura? She gives him back the whistle, now worn smooth from use, and says, "You don't have to be silent anymore, Mr. Jones. We've been waiting to hear you." He doesn't cry, but his eyes hold a light that hasn't been there in years. Now, the voice of Tinker Jones is more than a story about a lonely man and a kind child. It's a quiet manifesto on the power of patient love. In 1870s America, mental health was invisible. Grief was something you shook off. Men were told to be strong, which often meant be silent. To withdraw was weakness. To weep was failure. But Michael Landon, who wrote this episode, understood a deeper truth. Healing isn't about fixing someone. It's about making space for them to remember they belong. Tinker wasn't rescued by advice or force. He was reached by a child who refused to let the world forget his humanity. And Melissa Gilbert, as Laura, embodies a radical idea. Compassion doesn't demand change. It offers presence. And sometimes, that's enough to bring a voice back from the silence. Today, this story echoes with urgent relevance. In a world of digital noise, social isolation, and emotional armor, how many Tinker Joneses walk among us, unseen, unheard, carrying invisible weights? Laura's lesson is simple, but revolutionary. Don't wait for someone to ask for help. Just show up. Leave your bread. Carve your hope. Play your whistle. Because sometimes the first note of healing isn't a cure. It's a single act of faith that says, "I see you, and you matter." So if this journey moved you, if you've ever been the silent one, or the one who left bread on a fence post, I'd be honored to hear your story. Drop a comment below. Who helped you find your voice again? If this 51-minute storytelling of The Voice of Tinker Jones touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to SG Top Celebrities, and hit the bell so you never miss another story that heals, teaches, and reminds us that no soul is beyond reach. Thank you for walking this snowy path with Tinker and Laura. As Ma once said, the world breaks everyone, but afterward, some are strong at the broken places, because someone held them while they mended. Until next time, be the person who leaves bread on the fence. You never know whose silence you'll help turn into song.